Welcome back. Today's short story is called I Told You So. The St. Croix River overlapped the lakefront park of Hudson, Wisconsin. The late afternoon dark sky drizzled on the debris-filled park of dead bodies and animals. People ran in panic and scavenged for what they could just to survive. In fear, people ran for cover. Two young men in ripped clothes ran south past the amphitheater and across the road. Looking around frightened, they believed that they were being chased by an alien. At 20, Luke pouted, staring at his dead cell phone, and then tossed it away. Slight of build, he had a light-sensitive face. His neck had blisters that were growing on him. Sweating and puffing, he led his cousin, 17-year-old Kurt. He had a limp, and Luke tried to help him. Puffing, Kurt stumbled. He was a strong, athletic type and didn't want to admit any weaknesses. Luke helped him up, and they looked across the park, seeing an alien. It looked like a transparent, beautiful woman. They could see right through her. Her form kept changing to a man, then a bird and fish. Her eye color changed from blue to yellow and black. Kurt and Luke gulped hard as she caught their eyes. They turned to run and collided with each other. Running across the park towards the parking lot, they stopped short, seeing a small gray alien chasing an old man who screamed in fear. The gray alien trounced on him, opened his large mouth showing large fanged teeth. He bit into the man's chest and heart and sucked the blood and fear from him. "Come on, cousin." Luke yanked Kurt back and continued running south. Running south towards the marina. Puffing hard and exhausted, Kurt looked to Luke for support. "Where are we going, Luke?" "I don't know." Luke stared at the marina up ahead, and they stumbled over some bodies. "Hey, Hank's boat. They have a cruiser in the marina." "Hank?" Kurt didn't know him. "A friend of mine. Come on." They continued running. "I told you so. I told you so," Luke yelled at him. "Told me what?" Kurt wrinkled his puzzled nose. "They want us dead. 7.5 billion of us." Sweating, Luke felt his body shaking, and the blisters were growing on his neck. "Who are they?" Kurt's brown eyes grew in anger. He always had his guard up to protect himself. "There it is." Pointing out to the boats, Luke gulped hard. Kurt followed him. He had dreams of being a football and basketball star until his drunken father smashed the car into a telephone pole, killing himself and severing Kurt's leg 2 years ago. Luke helped Kurt into the 25-foot cruiser. They hurried onto the stern deck. Looking down, Luke was feeling the floorboard and opened a small hatch door and pulled out a key. He unlocked the door, and they both rushed down into the galley, and the bunks were tucked under the bow. They dove on the bunks exhausted. There was silence for a while as they recalled being on the run for 3 days. They watched their families die. Kurt's mother had an affair with another guy, which ticked him off. She was killed by a cop spinning his car out of control. His sister was Luke's mother, and he had an older sister. They were both killed by people using guns on the police. They got caught in the middle. Luke and Kurt got close. They were like brothers. Luke had the gift of healing, but Kurt didn't believe him. Neither one of them wanted to admit they were scared. They wanted to be strong. "I'm hungry. Maybe there's something in the fridge I saw." Kurt felt his stomach growling. Sitting up, they searched the galley for anything they could find. They came up with 1 can of beans, granola bars, potato chips, and 2 bottles of water. Kurt had his mouth full. "Radio, there must be a radio." He looked at Luke. Luke looked around and out a porthole. "It should be getting dark soon. Let's wait." Rubbing his arms, Luke felt exposed. He always had the protection of his overbearing mother and his overbearing sister. Nodding, Kurt gulped down some water. "Okay. Who's they?" Luke gulped down the chips, which he didn't like. He was into healthy eating, spirituality, and music. He missed his guitar and piano. "There's a small group of rich elite families that own, control, and manipulate everything on our planet." Kurt wrinkled his nose in disbelief. "What do you see when you watch TV, go to the movies, the internet?" Shaking his head, Kurt felt his sore, painful right leg. "It's all planned," Luke continued. "Violence, fears, wars, fighting. he had been following the alternate media on the internet for 3 years. They want to keep us dumbed down so they can easily control us. Kurt scratched his dirty long hair and rubbed his chin. He was delighted he was growing some whiskers. Why? Kurt kept blinking, not wanting to believe it. To work for them, keep them in luxury, while we slave for them. They installed the New World Order, and this is what we get. They're in cahoots with the aliens to keep this planet as their own. Well, that doesn't make sense. Kurt shook his head. Doesn't it? Look around, Kurt. Wake up. Remember, I told you they've poisoned us with vaccines, food, water, air, and our minds. Oh, I don't know. We're living it. They feed off our fear. You saw that alien sucking the blood and fear from that old guy. I just don't know, Kurt sighed. I don't know what to believe. Remember that riot in St. Paul? You saw Todd and Gary there. When they came back, we heard them talking about how much they got paid. It was all planned. Yeah, Kurt blinked, turned to Luke, remembering when they heard them. You're right. It had to be. They're trying to keep us fighting with each other. The Ebola plague, Luke nodded. Thousands killed in Brazil and all over the world. And how about the Mall of America shooting? Planned, Luke added. My God. Kurt started to believe him. They both yawned and licked out the portholes to the dark marina. Slowly they got up and stepped up and outside to the stern deck. Carefully they looked around. It was quiet. They continued to climb up the ladder to the bridge. In the dark, Kurt squinted to see the controls and radio. Luke kept a lookout. Kurt grabbed the microphone and flipped the switches. Hello? Come in, please. Help! Anybody! He gulped and he kept up for several minutes. SOS, we need help. Come in, please. He heard only static. Come in, please. Shit, he dropped the radio receiver. Luke had shivers down his body. He rubbed his arms and the sweat from his brow. Let's go back down. I'm tired, he suggested. And Kurt turned to him with concerned eyes. You don't look so good. I'm okay, just tired. Knowing he had the plague, he tried to hide his worry and fear. Let's get some sleep. Quietly, they stepped down the ladder and stepped to the galley and the bunks, and Luke shut and locked the door behind him. I don't believe this. I don't believe this. Fuck shit. Angry, Kurt hit the wall with his fist. What are we going to do? He looked to Luke, who was laying back on the bunk. Was that an alien following us? I think so, he sighed, tired. We'll figure it out in the morning. Luke rolled over on his bunk. With tears in his eyes, he remembered his mother and sister, Eve and Jennifer. He knew what was going on and didn't do enough. He felt responsible. He should have spoken up sooner. His girlfriend and family thought he was crazy when he brought it up. They both fell asleep quickly, and Kurt started snoring. In the middle of the night, the wind picked up and the boat started swaying. Outside, the ropes loosened and the cruiser started to drift. It moved backwards, bumping into another boat behind it. It appeared to be guided out of the marina towards the middle of the St. Croix River. In the dark, the boat drifted south with the current. The female transparent alien appeared on the stern deck and floated right through the door down into the galley. Her appearance kept changing shapes to a chimpanzee, a bird, a snake, and a beautiful woman. And then snoring, Kurt woke himself up and saw the alien. Startled, he jumped back into the corner of the bunk, hitting his head on the ceiling. With wide eyes, he gulped, Luke! Luke barely stirred. Luke! Kurt snapped at him, throwing his pillow at him. Wake up! He stared at the strange woman. What are you? Sitting up, Luke's mouth fell open in awe, seeing her. Her eyes turned black, yellow, and blue as she became solid. She had a beard and made faces. I am experimenting with physicality. This is very interesting. Her voice was very musical. Which would you prefer? Go away, leave us alone, Luke begged. Don't eat us. Kurt jumped over near Luke. They wanted to be close. They could rely on each other. She spoke perfect English. What about this? She appeared as a husky man with a beard. Luke and Kurt shook their heads. This? She appeared as a dog with a dog face. They shook their heads. Then she appeared as a beautiful woman, and Kurt and Luke nodded their heads in approval, noticing her pretty face and perfect body, wearing a powder blue silk dress. Physicality is very interesting. I have never used it. She looked at herself and her hands, feet, and felt her arms. Sensations. Wonderful. What are you? Kurt's eyes were attracted to her. Call me Nuba. I am not an alien. She noticed Luke's shaking body and blisters on his neck. I am from what you call the seventh dimension. The Elohim asked me to help you. Really? Kurt was skeptical. You are sick with the Ebola virus. Her eyes stayed on Luke. It's contagious. Kurt turned to Luke and jumped away from him, back on his own bunk. You will die if you stay here on this planet. Oh, God. Gulpy. Kurt didn't want to die. Come with me if you want to live. She held out her hands to them. Shaking their heads, Luke and Kurt didn't trust her. This can't be real. It's a dream. Kurt shook his head. I'll wake up. We're having the same dream? Luke looked at Kurt, but he wasn't sure. Then he looked at Nuba. D7? He scratched his head. Nuba nodded, looking at Kurt. You have been infected. What? Kurt snapped, feeling himself, and felt his arms, noticing a small blister. Oh, God, his voice cried. Come with me. You can be saved. Nuba assisted. If you stay here, you will live in fear and die. How much time? Luke asked, knowing he had to accept it. Perhaps a week of your time. Then she turned to Kurt. You may have 2 weeks. I don't believe this. Shaking his head slowly, Kurt ran his fingers through his hair. The New World Order will bring the trucks to collect everyone left into the FEMA camps, you call them. I told you so, Luke looked at Kurt. You did this to me. Angry, Kurt snapped at Luke. You only have to do 2 things to be saved, Nuba stayed calm. What? The boys replied in unison. They were intrigued and attracted to the beautiful woman. Let go of your fear and forgive. What? It confused Kurt. She stared into his eyes. Your father, mother, and yourself. I told you so, Luke repeated it to Kurt. As she turned to Luke, you must forgive yourself and let the love flow in and out. Her soft blue eyes turned to Kurt. Let go of your anger and fear. Let love in. They stared at her, not knowing what to do, or if they believed her. A smile came over her face, and her blue eyes sparkled. In awe, they just stared at her, falling in love with her. Kurt's eyes lighted up as Nuba's face turned into the face of Becky, his girlfriend, whom he had lost. She had short dark hair and cute deep dimples. Becky? Kurt gulped, amazed. Luke's eyes widened as he saw Anne in Nuba's face. With brown hair and blue eyes, a tall, slender young lady that he loved and lost. Anne? Tears dripped down from Luke's eyes and a smile came over his face. How did you feel about them? Good? Fantastic? Like you could do anything with them and for them? Nuba talked to them. They both nodded. But they're gone, Kurt gulped, hard, fighting to be a man. Remember? She started. All the love you had, the love you gave and received. Remember a time when you felt the love from your families. Luke and Kurt closed their eyes, picturing the good times when they were young. They celebrated holidays and birthdays in Luke's large backyard. Kurt's lab dog, Bart, wanted to play their games with them. There was love, laughter, hugging, and playing. Remember how you felt giving and receiving love. Think about it all the time. Think about it, believe it, feel it in your heart, and you will need nothing else. They opened their eyes, staring at Nuba. What just happened? Confused, Kurt blinked fast. It felt so real to both of them. I told, Luke started to say, you so. Kurt turned to Luke. That's all you need. Everything else will fall into place. You'll be able to forgive each other and yourselves. With so much love, fear, jealousy, guilt can't exist. Nuba spoke softly but sincerely. You're right. With his head down, Luke remembered he didn't see the answer. He was embarrassed. Come with me. Nuba held out her hands to them. How much time do we have? Luke wondered and looked at Kurt. Can we bury our families? Kurt nodded in agreement. Yes. Nuba looked around. I would like to ride in one of your vehicles. I think we can arrange that. Kurt looked around. Nuba turned the boat around and speeded back to the marina, and they all walked off towards the parking lot. Kurt saw a car and a dead body nearby. He noticed the keys in the woman's hands. They picked up Barbara, Kurt's mother, then Eve and Jennifer, Luke's mother and older sister. In the backyard of Luke's home, they dug graves for them. Nuba watched them cover them up. Tears were in their eyes as the fear, anger, and guilt drained from them. Their bodies are here. Leave your doubt and fear here with them. They are not gone. They have ascended, despite the New World Order. Their spirits are free, and so are you. She reached her hands out to them. Stay in the state of love forever. Luke and Kurt reached out for her. Well, thanks for stopping by, and check back again sometime. You never know what you can learn from these stories.